background a little bit. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a geologist if the doctor thing didn't work. But a couple of things happened, a couple of events changed that course for me. I had to make a very, really hard decision on my next steps. So I ended up not going to med school. I also wasn't able to go to the geology school. But what I held, what stayed with me was music. And music helped me navigate so much that was going wrong in my life. Music became my source of income. I started working and supporting my family at the age of 13. And that's how important music was to me. So fast forward, I find myself in the US. It wasn't part of my dream as well. But it's given me so much. And I really appreciate being here. I realized that I am here because of the privilege that I have had. Because there are so many other creatives back home in Cameroon who are not able to have what I have now. So when I heard the theme of this touch, I was like, ooh. What that meant to me, the word that came to my mind immediately was legacy. Because if you have all these gifts and you're not able to change or help change someone's life or trajectory, then it's a waste. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, touch, legacy. Other way. Yeah. So again, my name is Mirabel Umenei, musician, chef. I love to cook, guys. Even if you like cooking, let's definitely connect. I love just learning from people. I love finding commonality and differences with people from different cultures. I am a mother of 3. I have a boy who just turned 10 last week. 2 girls who think they're 40. And a husband who is just even killed. And it makes my home really, really interesting. I love to go back to them every day, and they ground me. So, as you have heard, I grew up in Cameroon, and I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions as we go. Who here knows where Cameroon is located in Africa? Any suggestions?
Top part.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please don't be scared. If your answer is wrong, that's all right.
So it's in Western Africa, sort of south of where Morocco is, and it's like along the coast.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. So, thank you for that. Cameroon is normally considered a Western African country, but we are actually Western Central Africa. We are the gateway between Western Africa and Central Africa. We are also called Africa in miniature, and that is because of where we are placed. If you travel all through Cameroon from top to bottom, you would have experienced all of the climatic regions on the continent. And what that does is it comes with a lot of diversity in food, climate. So up north is really arid. We're closer to Chad and the Saharan Desert over there. As you come down, you go through the grasslands and the savanna, and then you go further down, you get into the tropical rainforest. So we are a bag of mixed nuts, as you may know. What that means is if you live here, let's assume that we're in Cameroon, if you are living in Grand Rapids, by the time you start hitting Detroit, it's a completely different tribe. A different language, a different way of doing things. A different way of greeting, so being able to get along with people is very important. Fast forward to where we are now. Touch. I just got some random definitions online, guys. To come into or be in contact with, an act of touching someone or something. Legacy, the long-lasting impact of particular events, actions that took place in the past or of a person's life. And my question to you today, I want us to connect those. Touch, legacy. Who have you touched this year? What have you touched this year that changed? And how does that connect with your legacy? Are you thinking about your legacy at all? If you are, how far are you in that work? So we're going to take some time and just run through these questions on our tables. Please share what you have, write some things down, think about where you are on that journey. If at all you are on the journey, do you even want to be on that journey? Those are questions that we need to be answering. So please take some time out and answer the questions and share them amongst yourselves. We'll be back in 10 minutes. It's about love, and it's about others. It's about what you do. It's about how you put yourself out there. It's not about you, but it's about you in a way. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a story. I'll start from Cameroon. So this girl, crazy girl, when I was born, my parents were like, okay, I'm a middle child. And if you know what they say about middle children, I was all over the place, very adventurous, but I really, really loved school. I loved school. And where I come from, education is such an important part of life. For you to go anywhere, you have to be educated. And so parents will push their kids as much as they can, because we don't have the jobs that you would find in the West, for example. And so you have to be very, very exceptional to actually get something. And a lot of the times you also have to be connected. And if you're not connected, then you need to be outstanding in some shape or form. And so I took it very seriously. I didn't come from any of those connected families. So my parents were middle class, just going by and really pushing their kids to the top. But unfortunately, my dad got in trouble with one of his friends, and he ended up in prison for something he didn't do. And he was in prison for 6.5 years before the trial started, and then he was acquitted after. But before then, before he was acquitted, our lives just were destroyed. My mom couldn't pay for tuition for any of us. We're 6 of us. And in every African home, you would never ever find just parents and kids. They're always cousins, first cousins, second cousins, third cousins, some people there who you know for sure you're not related to them. But they still claim that they are family, you know. Because where I grew up, community is everything. Your wealth is attached to the people that you help. Your legacy is about how many people you're able to move across the poverty line. It's not about how many assets you own or how many cars you have. Because if you have all of those and people can still trace people in your family who are struggling, then you're not wealthy and you're not a good person. And so that completely changed our dynamic, and that was when I had to change my plans of becoming a doctor, because one, it entailed me spending a lot of time at the university paying for my rent and all of those things. I didn't have that money. But also, I was like, can I at least just be a geologist? I had an intervention for that, by the way. They had to sit me down and really say, okay, these are all the options. These you cannot do because you're putting way too much pressure on your mom and the rest of your family who are struggling now. If we give you all the money, what are all the people, all your other siblings going to do? And I'm like, okay, I'll take one for the team. And fast forward, I discovered that music, which I had always loved, was my one way out. I went to studios. I had normally gone there just to help people. I would sing, do backup for them. And after a while, I was just like, why am I not getting paid for this? And that was, I was 12 then. And so I decided I would start asking, okay, just pay me what you can. Pay me what you can, I need the money. And people started paying me, and yeah, that's how I started earning income from my passion. Fast forward, I knew I couldn't study in Cameroon because if I did it, I would not be able to pay for a lot of the things, so I would not be able to go to a good school. So my eyes were abroad. I'm like, I'm gonna have that X factor, I'm gonna bring in a Western degree back here, and I'll come and blow all of you out of the water. That was my plan, and then I was like, okay, how am I even gonna pay for this? I don't have the money to pay for a flight, ticket, for all of those things, so I said, what is another way to travel, experience the world without paying too much money? And I was like, ooh, au pair. Yes, so I'm gonna be an au pair. And that's how I went to Germany. I lived with this German family for a year and a half, and it was just amazing. The first few months were not amazing at all, I'll just tell you. Culture shock, everything came in, the food was bland and not so. I was like, I don't like this one bit, but I know where I'm going to. And so I was able to stay there, study, bachelor's, master's. The US was never a part of my plan. So when I got a scholarship to come to the US to do a dual master's degree, I was like, yay, let's take that. This opportunity, you don't know when you ever have the next one. So I am all for opportunities, guys. When I see them, I grab them. And so I came over, finished, and it just so happened that my boyfriend had been hired from the UK to come work here in Grand Rapids. And so when I graduated from West Virginia University and I was ready to go back to Germany, he was like, hey, how about we get married? And I'm like, okay. Let's get married. Grand Rapids was never in my dreams at all. If I knew anything about Michigan, it was just Detroit. That was it. So that's how I ended up here. And we got married, and I was pumped. I was so pumped. I was like, I have experience from 2 different continents. Working experience that will help me, push me through. And I also have siblings back home who are depending on me as well. So I need to get that job as fast as possible. And I knew that I would not really go through a lot to get a job with 2 master's degrees, all of those things. So then the trouble started. I applied for so many jobs here. My specialty was in marketing. So I was looking for brand manager positions, marketing manager positions, because, or even just associate or something in that space. And I applied so many times. Some people made it through some interviews, or just the first one, and this is the feedback that I would hear. Your accent is too thick. We're having trouble understanding what you're saying. Some other people said, we're not sure you had this experience. I'm like, all you need to do is call those numbers on the resume and confirm all of the things I'm talking about. And it just was no, 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 no. After a while, I was just like, there has to be something I'm doing wrong. Because if I'm getting no everywhere, then maybe I need to work on something on myself. So I rushed. I went to the Women's Resource Center, and I told them, can you help me do this? I know for sure I'm doing something wrong. Let's polish my resume. Let's let's have some coaching, be a part of this so I can learn how to express myself the American way so that I may finally get a job. I did all of that. It was no, 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 and more no's. So I finally, I started asking myself, am I the only one going through this kind of experience? And so I went into the immigrant communities and I started asking the questions. I was just like, wow, there's so many of us going through the same thing. People are skilled. There are job openings that are not being filled, but nobody is going to hire the immigrants who are coming in. That was the problem. Because they haven't had experiences in the USA, but also because they don't come from the schools that most people would recruit from. That was the main problem. And so I started asking myself, how do I fix this? Because this is not a me problem anymore. During that time, I was like, okay, no job, I'll volunteer where I can, and then let's just start getting those babies out of the way. Because when I hit that job market, I'm gonna be rushing and flying. I don't want anybody stopping me. I don't want to have to jump out because, oh, I got pregnant or anything like that. So all of that time I was doing that, but during that period I was going through a tough time because I started asking myself, like, what is wrong with me? I internalized all of the no's. It was about something about me, where I came from, my color, and that's how I finally ended up just getting depressed. And that's not, my story is not unique. It's a very common story with immigrants who move to this country. That brings me to my legacy, what I call hopefully in the future, maybe this is something that people would say, she was known for this. My passion is bridging the gap, cultural gap between immigrants and people who live here. I want to empower women like myself who have to stay at home for years and years and years because no one would hire them, who start thinking that they have to erase all of who they are to belong in this community. I want to empower them to say, you have value, you are unique, you are beautiful, your contributions are needed in this community because you think differently. And when you have people who think differently, that is a rife, wonderful space for innovation. And so that is what my work is all about. I am also championing interactional cultural competency. And cultural competency is just how you get along with people from different cultures. There's just way too many stereotypes about people that we carry. Even those who were born here, there's just way too many stereotypes. And the way we try to bridge this gap, build authentic relationships, is by getting to know other people, talking to them, talking with them, and breaking bread with them. So, cultural competence is the ability to work effectively across cultures. And where this ties in with your legacy is, again, it's about you, but it's not about you. You need people to make your legacy work. And to have people, you have to know how to work well with people. And these would be people from every corner, because this whole space is becoming more and more diverse as we go. There's just a lot of diversity. You want to think, there's just so many things you can think of. But how, this can be very overwhelming when you have so many different things. Like, what do you start with? What do you focus on? How do you take the first step? And so I sat down during those 5 years, and I asked myself, like, one, what are my passions? I like to sing. I like to cook. I like to bring people together. My best moment is when I'm hosting people and we're having conversations and we are learning the different quirks and different things that people do, and we're laughing and having a good time. That is what I love. And I decided I was going to bring all of this and make it a business. So that's how my company, Motherland Cultural Connections, was founded. We teach cultural competency through immersive experiences that include cooking classes, house concerts. So in intimate settings, we don't do big groups, we do small groups. And we do it deliberately because we want people to talk to each other. We want people to exchange cultural differences and norms. We want people to find commonality. We want as diverse a group as possible, put them on the table so that they can find things that they have in common. The way we do it, everybody likes to eat, right? We all had breakfast now, or this morning. Everyone likes to eat. And so you can start there. And again, when you ask yourself, like, when you meet someone for the first time, how do you even approach them? Those are the big questions that we ask ourselves. You can start by, if it's your colleague, invite them over for lunch. Have lunch with them. But also, if it's just someone that you just met, it always helps to ask, like, what do you like to eat? Usually people will not be like freaked out when you ask them that kind of question. Or it's like, where are you from? Now they get scared. What kind of music do you listen to? Do you listen to music? I would respond to that if I met you for the first time. But it's the simple things. It's running away from that big idea that everything has to be perfect and moving along with the small things, the little insignificant things. How are you? Hi, how are you? I saw this, and I liked this about you. I'm just curious. What is it you like to eat? So we have our vehicles here: food, music, art, storytelling. We're here telling a story now, so we're technically having an interactive cultural competency session right now. Now, bringing this all back to legacy. We have thought about the things that we like to do. We have thought about the things that give us so much joy, but the things that we would like to do even if we don't get paid. Those are the cues for what could tentatively be your legacy. Because it's going to be back-breaking work. You will need people, but you also have to be comfortable with yourself to wake up every morning, whether it's a bad day or not, and still see it through. But a lot of people abandon their legacy halfway. Some of the reasons are you don't have support. There's nobody who can pull a whole thing by themselves. No matter how cool, how genius, how intelligent, how charismatic you are, you need people to create impact. And so it's very important to have a good support system with you all along the way. People who will tell you, oh, this doesn't look good. Those kind of people, not the ones who say, oh, you're doing such a great job, go, go, go. Yes, you need that, but you need more the people who would say, you're missing this part. A lot of the time it's fear too. We're just so scared. We step out there and then we see the magnitude of our dream and it's like, shoot, I cannot do this. And we walk away. That's one of the reasons. Another one could just not defining it well. And to have a legacy, seriously, you need to know what your strengths are and your weaknesses are. To do anything in this world, you need to know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Because your weaknesses will limit how far you can go. So that self-assessment is also very important. Again, there's lack of ambition. And the worst one is just searching for instant gratification. It's not going to happen, not with your legacy. It will not happen. If you're looking for some kind of gratification, it will not happen. If it's tied to the joy that you see in the people that you move, then that's a good one. But if you're looking for someone to recognize you or what you've done, forget it. You're already on the wrong lane. And that pathway ends with hurt a lot of the time, because you'll be disappointed at the end. You will be mad at yourself for the time that you've wasted. And it's just not going to work well. And we have the big procrastination. I do that too. Okay, so how do you ensure that you are touching people constantly and leaving that legacy? Simple steps. You need to make sure that you actually create a short-term and a long-term plan with steps that you're going to follow. After this, I'm going to do this. After this one, I'm going to do this. And you make sure that you have people who are holding you accountable in the process. You also want to pace yourself, because a lot of the times I tend to be an achiever. So a lot of the times, once I start something, I want to see it through. I want to see it through, and sometimes I get impatient. And then I start beating myself down. I become my own worst enemy. And I start just, okay, you're not going to do this in time. And then I start getting scared and anxiety and all of that. And that doesn't help the work. So when you're tired, rest. You deserve the rest. You should not be working non-stop. That is not humanly possible. Because you need to be able to rest, to refill that bucket, to get back on the road. A legacy journey is not a short-term thing. It's a long-term thing. It's years and years and years and years. So you need to be able to rest when you need it. And don't feel ashamed. I started the year really rough. And again, I had all these goals that I was supposed to have completed. But my body just wasn't cooperating. And I had to sit myself down. I shut everything down. Everything. And that was the first time for me. And I shut it down for almost 2 months, actually. I'm like, if it's burning, let it burn. I'll get back later on. But I need to be back on that track, feeling good about myself and feeling good about what I want to do, or the change that I want to bring. But also when you're doing all of these things, you know that there are people watching you. People who are being inspired by the moves that you're making. And you don't want to show them that you have to work non-stop, because that's not even doable. So you're thinking about what you're doing because people are watching you, whether you know that people are watching you or not. That's also part of that legacy. What are people seeing? You want to use metrics. If you cannot measure it, you didn't do anything. Because you have to, holding yourself accountable also means that you can say, in my plan, I set out to do this and this and this. And by this time, I did it. Or scratch, by this time, I did it. I finally did it. For you, yourself, it's a win that you need to celebrate. So it's not for anybody else. It's just like acknowledging it to yourself, like, I made it. I did this. And then you move on. The last most important one is reading. Reading, reading, reading. All leaders read. All leaders learn. And the more you work with other people, the more you learn from them. The more you extend what that legacy could be. The more ideas you have as well on how to be more efficient in the process. And prioritizing is such an important thing. When you have this big dream, short-term, long-term, and you have a lot of moving pieces flying by, and it's very important to categorize them. What is urgent? What is not urgent? What is important and what isn't important? And you have to be able to let go of the things that are not important and not urgent. They have no business in your plan. A lot of the times when we do work, sometimes we are reluctant to let it go because we've applied so much energy, so much love in there, we don't want to let it go. Here you have to be able to cut the cord. Cut it. If it's not urgent, it's not important, dump it. it's just gonna waste your time. Valuable time that you could have been using resting or doing something else. So, takeaways, you have to begin with the end in mind. What is the picture I want to see at the end? You start with the end, you create your plans, short-term plans, step by step, how is this going to happen? And be fine with postponing, or just be fine with just taking the time. If you need the time, take the time. Because this is not a work that can be done in 5-10 years. It's like a lifelong thing, because we're talking about when you pass on. You need to focus on helping people. It's not about you again. I've said this over and over. It's about your work, but it's not about you. It's about other people. You have to plan. You have to prioritize. And if you plan and prioritize and do all of that work and you don't implement it, just stop it. Pick up something else. You have to tweak as necessary. If you see that something isn't working, go back and tweak it. Don't look at it as a failure. It is one other thing that you've discovered that doesn't work. Go back and proudly tweak it. Measure your success. Have a good support system. Read and learn. And again, it might be about your work, but it's not about you. We have to check ourselves every morning. I try to do that every day. And I have my plan. It's like, okay, what is this thing serving? Is it serving me? Is it serving my purpose? I have those pillars that I put all around me. I do that check, because I used to be the one who just go out. It's like, when there's a fire to put out there, I run over there, and then I run over there. It's like, I'm not getting work done well. So, check yourself every day as you set out to do the work, to touch people, to move people, to make people more successful, or happier, or safer. Is so important. So, we're going to take just 1 or 2 minutes to reflect on this. Where are you at with your legacy? And then I would like for you to just have this conversation between yourselves. This is a question that you should answer. What do I need from the people on the table or anybody else to move my legacy forward? Because I strongly believe that our help is normally just next door. We don't know who was sitting around. Maybe we know the people who were sitting around with at the table, but you don't know what their connections are. So it helps to ask for help. That doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing. Asking for help is a good thing. So let's do that. Let's answer those 2 questions, and then, yeah, I hope that we can connect some people here to other resources that we have. Was anyone able to get any connection? Lovely. 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 So we want to be each other's help here. You've heard what the needs are. Please take cards so that you can follow up and actually deliver on the connections that you're thinking you want to reach. So that was it for me. Again, reach out if you love food, if you like gathering. I love to meet new people all the time. We love to have discussions and tell our stories, compare notes on how growing up was, and some of the ridiculous things that our parents do. Or you can reach us at our website, Model and Cultural Connections. You can also, if you are more interested in cooking, you can join us at Motherland Cooking Experience as well. And yeah, don't be a stranger. Please reach out, follow us on social media, and I'm always just an email away. Thank you all so much.